Okay, good morning everyone. Now it's my turn to explain the Unit 6 about the predicates, referring expressions, and universe of discourse. Oh, by the way, my name is Muhammad Rizki Kifari, and let's get started. Okay, as we know that we explore further the distinction and the relationship between referring expressions and predicates. And now we will see how the same word can be used for the radically different function of reference and predication. And we will begin to see how these two functions fit together in the overall language system. Okay, let's see. Some expressions are almost always referring expressions no matter what sentence they occur in. And the first one, can the proper name Muhammad Ali ever be used as the predicator wait of a sentence? And the second one is, can the proper name Cairo ever be used as predicator of sentence? And the third one is, in a general, can proper names ever be used as predicators? The fourth one, can the verb hit ever be used as a referring expressions? The fifth one, can the prepositions 017 ever be used as referring expressions? And the last one, in general, can any verb or preposition can be used to refer? From all of that questions, the answer is just one. It is no. Yeah. From the number 1 until 6 from the book, we can answer no, because the distinction between referring expressions and predicates is absolute. Yeah, the distinction between referring expressions and predicates is absolute. There is not a continuum running from proper names at one end through borderline cases to verbs and prepositions at the other. Either an expression is used in a given utterance to refer to some entity in the word, or it is not so used. Okay. So there are some phrases, in particular indefinite noun phrase, that can be used in two ways, either as a referring expressions or as predicating expressions. Okay, we will see in the next example. Now, is a man in John attacked? A man referring expressions. Okay, you can see that the answer is yes. And is a man in John, is a man a referring expressions? The answer is no. Wait a minute. Okay, a man can be either two referring expressions or two predicating expressions, depending on the context. Yeah, okay. Um, the same is true or other indefinite noun phrases. On the face of it, this may seem startling. How are we able to use the same expressions for different purpose? Okay, the presence of predicate in referring expressions helps the hearer to identify the referent of referring expressions. Notice that we have just drawn a distinction between referring and identifying the referent of referring expression. Okay. Next. To sum up, predicates do not refer, but they can be used by a hearer when contained in the meaning of referring expression. So, the referring expression itself, the predicators do not refer, but they can be used by a hearer when contained in the meaning in the referring expression's context. To identify the referent of that expressions, some more examples follow. Thus, does the phrase in the corner contain any predicate? We can say that yes. Is the phrase the man who is in the corner referring expressions? Yeah, the answer is yes. Um, okay, from the two chapters before, in the chapter 4 and 5, we can conclude that the speakers refer to things in the course of utterances by means of referring expressions, and the words in referring expressions give clues which help the hearer to identify its referent. In particular, predicates may be embedded in referring expressions as, for instance, the predicates in man in the corner are embedded in referring expressions. The man in the corner. So I'll repeat once again. For instance, the predicates man, in, and corner are embedded in the referring expressions the man in the corner. So the correct referent for such referring expressions is something which completely fits or satisfies the description made by the combinations of predicates embedded in it. Okay, the next is the generic sentence. So the core of the unit 6 are the generic sentence and discourse universe. We now introduce the notions of a generic sentence. So far, we have developed an analysis of very common sentence type containing a subject which is referring expressions and predicate, or possibly other expressions. Not all sentences are of this type. Okay, what is the generic sentence? A generic sentence is a sentence in which some statement is made about the whole unrestricted class of individuals as opposed particular individual. So this is just a little example from generic structures that I took from the book. The whale is a mammal. So understood in the most usual way is generic structure. Is a generic sentence. I'm so sorry. Wait. Okay, language is used for talking about things in the real world, like parrots, paper clips, babies, and etc. All of these things exist. The whale exists, but the things we can talk about and the things that exist are not exactly the same. We shall now explore the way in which language creates unreal words and allow us to talk about non-existent things. So maybe this kind of thing will guide us until the next chapter, that is the universe of discourse. Okay. The universe of discourse for any utterance as the particular word, real or imaginary, or part, the real part imaginary, that speaker assumes he is talking about at the time. Okay, I have two examples for the universe of discourse. The first one is when an astronomy lecturer in a serious lecture states that the earth revolves around the sun. The universe discourse from this statement, we all assume that in the real world, or in the real situation in our universe. And the second one is when I tell my children a bedtime story and say the dragon set fire to the woods with his hot breath. So we can conclude it that the universe of discourse is not the real word, but a fictitious word. So the universe of discourse have two parts, yeah. The first one is the real word, and the second one is the fictitious word. Okay, I can conclude that in the course of utterances, speakers are referring expressions to refer to entities which may be concrete or abstract, real or fictitious. The predicates embedded in a referring expression help the hearer to identify its referent. In the semantics is not concerned with the factual status or things in the word, but with meaning it, language. So the notion of universe of discourse is introduced to account for the way in which language allow us to refer to non-existent things. So the notion of the discourse analysis introduce the way we can give the difference between the real and refer to non-existent things. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much. Good morning. And if you have questions, we can discuss it in WA group, in WhatsApp group. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.